Akeem Olufemi Gbajabiamila. God bless you all.
A warm welcome to another fresh episode of House Ticket, a weekly program that enlightens you on the activities of the House of Representatives, Federal Republic of Nigeria. On this episode, lawmakers reached a deadlock with the National Association of Resident Doctors during discussions on the ongoing strike. The resident doctors insist the strike must go on, pending when the federal government responds to their issues. And then, on events before the recess, lawmakers investigate the lease of government-owned assets domiciled in ministries, departments, and agencies. The House has also called on Nigerians to lend support to the community of people living with disabilities. All of these are on our lineup from the committee rooms. Join us after the break for the full package.
We set our minds right, embrace each other in love and brotherhood. We will come through these troubling times. We will survive. We will recover, and then we will thrive. One nation under God, free, peaceful, and prosperous.
We'll begin the program with discussions between the House Committee on Healthcare Services, the National Association of Resident Doctors, and the Federal Ministry of Health. The discussions led to a decision that consultations continue to be concluded at the federal level between the doctors and the federal government. And in another committee room, stakeholders gather for 2 days to begin discussions over the governing lease of federal government-owned assets, as lawmakers are disappointed over the lack of capacity for Nigeria to print passports over a period of 19 years. The report is compiled and presented from the studios.
A two-day emergency stakeholders meeting was called for by the House Committee on Healthcare Services in response to the strike by the National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD. The committee is worried that with the doctors on strike again, the Delta variant of the COVID-19 virus will spread uncontrolled, just as Nigerians also stand at risk of losing their lives to the virus and other illnesses. Reasons for the strike by the resident doctors is the failure by the federal government to comply with agreements entered into between the federal government and the association a few months back over a number of issues, namely migration of doctors from give-me salary payment structure to the IPPIS, training funds for resident doctors, salary shortfall of house officers from 2014 to 2016, and inadequate and unavailable hazard allowance, amongst others.
Why we are still on strike today, sir, my apologies sir, to the minister, is because of the Ministry of Health, mostly. Why are we having these bottlenecks? Because some people are not doing their jobs.
The federal government has insisted, however, that it has carried out its part of the agreements and that it is the state governments who have breached the agreements.
Where health is not mentioned as an item, either on the exclusive or on the legislative list, it means it's a residual item which falls within the purview of the states. And you made that point. But in a situation where the federal is being held by the jugular to take the responsibility for actions of the states, I think that is not fair. The items that our colleagues in NRD are talking about, they are itemized. I don't mind, let us take it one by one. I don't believe in blame game, but we need to really situate situation where they rightly belong.
The committee therefore stated its position regarding compliance by state governments, among other suggestions on the way forward.
The National Assembly has no oversight mandate over state matters, especially in health, and this has constitutional backing of which you are aware. But however, the National Assembly can work closely and appeal to the state to ensure that service is done, justice is done to workers. And let me also tell you, your audit director and the National President of Association of Resident Doctors will vividly agree so as to request for some document and information that I would pass to the Executive Governor of Kebbi State, who also double as the Chairman of Progressive Governors Forum, because they have called for an emergency meeting to be able to address state matters as is concerned this strike. And all the documents forwarded to me has also been forwarded to the governors. I'm hoping that the outcome will be favorable to all of us. This is very, very vital if we insist, as that is a condition of restoration of services.
I lost my daughter last year. This strike. All the hospitals were on strike. I called them in the midnight. There was nowhere we could go. Unfortunately, we lost her. So life, once it's gone, it's gone. You can't take it back. Let us find a common ground. Everything should not be strike all the time. Can't we get alternative to this strike? So that instead of going on strike, we have a reconciliation, we have a common ground, so that our people will not suffer unduly. Just like I told you now, that my daughter that is gone forever. We can't get it, we can't get her back. So also as I'm talking now, life has been lost. Not always complain, talking about 5,000 hazard allowance. I don't understand. Is it $5,000 or 5,000 naira? We should not be ridiculous. No, we should not be ridiculing ourselves by talking that a whole medical doctor. I have one of my children studying medicine. I know how much I'm paying in a private university to even train a medical doctor.
Chief medical directors of various hospitals were also invited to the meeting to state the true situations of events, as they were accused of wrongdoing against the association in terms of migration of doctors and other residency training issues. The meeting, however, arrived at a deadlock between the stakeholders after the 2 days interaction. The consultation is to continue between the federal government and the National Association of Resident Doctors, NAD, where an amicable resolution is hoped to be achieved.
To the best of my knowledge.
In another committee room was the hearing by an ad hoc committee constituted by the House to investigate and review all lease, concession, agreements and contracts of federal government-owned assets. The lawmakers said the investigation into the governing lease of these federal government-owned assets has become necessary to fight against sharp practices and economic sabotage in the area of lease and concession of federal government assets. The Speaker was represented on the opening day of the investigations.
The ad hoc committee also has a broader mandate to review the national policy on public-private partnerships (NPPP) to ensure that the policies of the federal government on public-private partnerships are effective in establishing a clear and consistent process for all aspects of PPP project development and implementation in the country. This is of particular importance now, as the reality of our economy demands that we embrace innovation in the design, funding and implementation of critical public infrastructure.
For the committee, it worried that global demand for basic infrastructural services has grown over the years, and thus Nigeria is lagging behind with poor maintenance and infrastructure deficit. There is need, therefore, to make massive investments to close the infrastructure gap.
The essence of this hearing is to conduct an in-depth investigation into all leases and concessions, PPP arrangements of the federal government-owned assets with a view to plugging leakages and enhancing government revenue generation for budget implementation. We are all aware of the nation dwindling revenue from oil, which over the years has compelled the federal government of Nigeria to contemplate selling off some of its assets as well as lease or concession orders to enable it raise funds for budget implementation. This is a laudable policy. However, we are worried that the lease and concession of federal government assets may be compromised where there is no proper oversight. We are therefore convinced that there is an urgent need to review all lease and concessions PPP contracts on federal government assets with a view to expunging all sales provisions and enacting new ones in line with current states of affairs to be determined by market forces.
The investigation proper began with questions for the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, which has about 76 projects in its custody, ranging from healthcare, public buildings, inland containers, telecoms, and the aviation industries.
I don't know that you are conversant with the act establishing you, and that there are punitive clauses. Some can be criminalized. Actually, that. I got worried when I wrote down here when you said you issued 400 and something letters to come and for compliance or something, and they got only 18 response. Am I right? Have you sanctioned any of them?
One of the challenges we have is that our act did not prescribe punitive measure. So what we intend doing is that we are going to work with EFCC.
Apart from ICRC's collaboration with the EFCC, the Commission also expressed its desires to partner with the committee in this regard.
I'm delighted and excited that the committee will give us the necessary backing, and because we are also working with PICA, Presidential Initiative on Continuous Audit, to ensure that leakages are plugged. That's the essence of this.
At another sitting of the ad hoc committee, members had questions on capacity of execution of projects by a partner organization of the Nigerian Immigration Service, Irish Smart Technologies, an organization contracted since 2003 to provide international passports booklets. The information that the production of these booklets is done in Malaysia for more than 10 years now took the committee aback.
Would I be correct to say that you are an agent of Malaysian Printing Press?
I think
since 2003.
It is not correct.
How many years now?
I was going to address.
How many years now? 2003 to now?
I was going to address.
I'm just asking. How many years now?
That's what.
Chairman, audience.
No, you have asked him.
How many years now? 2003 to now?
That's what. 15 years.
18 years. 18 years. For 18 years. For the past 18 years. Nigeria has been printing passports in Malaysia. And you said we don't have the facility printing, the technology to print here. For 18 years we've been doing this. We not deemed it fit to have it here. Is our records and all whatnot secured in Malaysia?
In 2012, we wrote to government asking for permission to set up a passport manufacturing plant in Nigeria. And it's on record. I would forward those letters to you to look at. And the fact that government has not responded to it, that's why we're not printing the passports in Nigeria. I do not have a facility to print here now because I have not been given permission to print here. We do. Honorable member, this is a security document. We do. The way we print today, government sent security agents to go and verify and assure that this is a secure facility.
5 million passports gives you $95 million. 95 million. How would the cost of printing machines, the entire components, the security that would, so again we are even wasting this Nigeria money sponsoring people to go to Malaysia and look after and police our passport. And my serious concern is the capital flight. And at the end of this investigative hearing, it will be part of our recommendations, Mr. Chairman and honorable members. This must stop.
Tax issues also came up.
We're investigating. If in the past 5-10 years you've gotten 90-something $1 million, how much of tax accrued to Nigeria and so on, is a mental whatever, you satisfy us. That will even make us to say, please, preach till the world come to an end for Nigeria.
So you're saying you're not aware that your agreement is being regulated by ICRC?
I'm not aware.
You're not aware. ICRC, take note, please. From the findings that we have heard from Iris Technologies, it is very clear that this will not be the last time they will come here. It is very, very obvious that they will come.
Lawmakers also asked for documents of agreements of contracts signed between the Nigerian government and the company for perusal to aid the investigations. On its part, Iris Smart Technologies also referred some of the questions asked to the Ministry of Interior for appropriate answers.
TRC does not have custody of these lease agreements between the Nigerian Ports Authority and Dangote Cement.
It's still under port cement operations, but this time around we were specific.
For lease agreements between Dangote Cement and the Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, ICRC denied knowledge of any renewal of a lease as claimed by the cement factory. In yet another sitting of the committee, the focus was on the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, concerning the international and local airport terminals situated in Lagos State, which was developed under a Build, Operate and Transfer (BOT) agreement. The agreement entered into between FAN and its partners over the project have been described as shoddy, which has led to Nigeria losing over $90.5 million annually. And in rounding up the investigation for the time being till the lawmakers resume from their annual recess, the representatives expressed dismay at the continued absence of some agencies and heads of organizations at the hearing.
Welcome back from the break. The Ninth House of Representatives, amongst its many interventions since it came into office, has sought special attention, recognition, and need for inclusion of persons with disabilities and other vulnerable groups in everyday governance and opportunities like every other Nigerian. This is more so since the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act of 2019 became law after being assented to by President Muhammadu Buhari in January 2019. The House, under the stewardship of Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila, had buttressed its stance on the recognition of this category of Nigerians through its maiden program to commemorate the International Day of Persons with Disability, sometimes in December 2019. The House went further to constitute a committee on disabilities to address issues of Nigerians with special needs through legislations. The committee is chaired by lawmaker Miriam Onoha. Recently, on Tuesday, 22nd of June 2021, the committee commenced the investigation of alleged violation of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act by the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria and private airline operators. This was sequel upon a motion on the floor of the House on the 19th of May 2021, where the matter was deliberated upon. The motion alleged the violation of rights of one Dr. Chike Okogu by Dana Air, where he was barred from boarding the aircraft after he had obtained a boarding pass on the grounds that a new policy forbids carrying passengers with wheelchairs. The motion is amongst other petitions against sister airlines on the same or similar discriminations. Resolutions were reached when the motion was adopted, mandating the committee to carry out an investigation. The House also resolved to urge the relevant government agencies to provide a functional disabilities desk to ease the sufferings of persons with disabilities at all airports in Nigeria. The House also urged airline operators in collaboration with the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, to provide assistive devices and other relevant support for persons with disabilities at the airports. In a welcome address at the opening of the investigative hearing, the chairman of the committee posited that the House will do everything to ensure that Nigerians are not intimidated, discriminated, or humiliated by public services. Hence, a contradiction of the Discrimination Act will not be overlooked as representatives of the people.
Prominent and of concern amongst the issues raised in the petitions and complaints are matters of non-compliance with the laws or inefficiency by public officers or their agencies. Public places should provide access, unfettered access to persons with disability, and a mandatory and compulsory inclusion of not less than 5% by same organizations and agencies by way of employment and appointments and other related palliatives or gains which every other Nigerian and persons are entitled to. This committee will also proceed after these sittings to begin to check for compliance.
The speaker was ably represented at the event, and the position that Nigerians must lend support to the vulnerable in the society was further emphasized.
The current security challenges ranging from insurgents, banditry, secessionists, kidnapping to farmers/herders clashes have further escalated the number of persons with disabilities in Nigeria. It is in light of the above that the petitions and complaints to which the attention of the House was drawn was referred to the committee to see it that justice and dignity of persons with disabilities is restored and protected.
The National Commission for Persons with Disabilities was represented by the Executive Secretary, who was given the opportunity to address the matter at hand. He described the discriminatory acts by the airlines as disappointing and that the Commission is ready to take any organization to court for breach of its rights or over issues of discrimination.
The right of persons with disabilities today in Nigeria is non-negotiable. We are here as a commission to defend this right. Therefore, when we receive some of these complaints from to our own, when we receive some of these complaints, we try to look into these policies that most of these airlines continue to cite. Most especially the complaint from Ibomia, Danaya, some of them continue to cite some policies. These policies remain worrisome to us as a disability community. So we want to bring it to their notice that the existence of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act already criminalized any form of discrimination towards persons with disabilities in totality.
He then went ahead to speak on the steps taken by the Commission in addressing some of the challenges faced by the vulnerable society.
We had some discussion. One of our offers as a commission was that, first of all, we want to bring these people to a table so that we can sit down to review this policy. Then reviewing this policy with a focus to comply with the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act, so that as soon as we are able to correct this, we will reduce some of the problem for now. But to my surprise, the MD of the Federal Airport Authority, part of our commitment was we want to make sure that we provide disability services centers located in this airport. To our greatest disappointment, the MD was complaining that the airport offices are already full of. We want to make sure, want to appeal to the committee so that we can call the MD Federal Airport Authority so that we can be able to address this problem together. We are ready to provide the services in the airport so that we can reduce the burden, reduce the discrimination, and reduce the complaint from our community. Our responsibility as a commission is to make sure that we make persons with disabilities comfortable everywhere they go.
The Commission also stated that it is ready to partner with ministries in the transport industry and other partners to provide accessibility for the disabled community, including the railway services. Majority of the airlines invited did not honor the invitation, but Dana Air, which represented other airlines, denied the allegations of discrimination against persons with disabilities and insisted that Dana Airlines only acts in accordance to the guidelines of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA. The committee was, however, unhappy over the low turnout of the airlines at the meeting, but resolved to give them another opportunity to make their positions known, after which it will decide on its next line of action. This is where we say goodbye on this episode of the program. Remember that the Delta variant of the COVID-19 is here. abide by all safety protocols as stipulated by the Federal Ministry of Health, and let's keep Nigeria safe. Do join us again next time. You can also watch House Tickets on our YouTube channel, Newage TV Network. Your feedback by way of comments and questions on the workings of the House of Representatives should be sent through the mobile phone number showing on your screen. Thanks for watching.